let it go. Put on a show. I wanna see how you lose control. So leave it behind, 'cause we have a night to get away. So come on and fly with me as we make our great escape. So baby, don't worry, you are my only. You won't be lonely, even if the sky is falling down. You'll be my only, no need to worry. Baby, are you down, 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 down? Baby, are you down, 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 down? Even if the sky is falling down, just let it be. Come on, bring your body next to me. I'll take you away, hey. Turn this place into our private getaway. So leave it behind, 'cause we have a night to get away. So come on and fly with me as we make our great escape. So why don't we run away? Don't worry, you are my only. You won't be lonely, even if the sky is falling down. You'll be my only, no need to worry. Baby, are you down, 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 down? Baby, are you down, 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 down? You down, even if the sky is falling down like she's supposed to be. She gets down low for me, down like her temperature, 'cause to me she's 0 degrees. She cold over freeze. I got that girl from overseas, now she my Miss America, and I cannot be her soldier, please. I'm fighting for this girl on the battlefield of love. Don't it look like baby Cupid sending arrows from above? Don't you ever leave beside of me, indefinitely, not probably, and honestly, I'm down like the economy. Baby, don't worry, you are my only. You won't be lonely, even if the sky is falling down. You'll be my only, no need to worry. Baby, are you down, 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 down? Down, down. Baby, are you down, 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 down? No. And the sky is falling, even if the sky is falling down. No. And the sky is falling down.
I would please stand for national anthem.
Stand for the grand. Okay. Me? I thought you were going to do it. Hi. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, wait until they get it.
We have music too?
No.
Oh.
But wait until they get it. Yeah, Mike, stand over there where you can get it in the camera.
Are you guys marching? No, we're just going to stand. I'm glad I know. Oh, she's going, let's have a warm milk bottle at night. Yes. The mama. Come on. Sarah brought milk.
Huh? Alright.
Go ahead, Karen. Okay, are you ready for me to be ready?
Hold on.
You tell me when. We don't have any music, you know.
She knows the song.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early lights what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watch are so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner
great. All right. Wow. You want this one? I turned the microphone. Oh, very good. That was good, Tim. That was real good, Tim. Now get that music.